So tonight we're going to go over, tonight's episode is the Shadow People series, part 2 of entities or types of entities and different shadow people. So I'm just going to go over the latest stuff that's going on while everybody gets their notifications and they get onto the live streams here. We have a live stream going on my professional page, Catherine Kaufman Psychic Medium. I've got a live stream going on my personal page right here. Hi, you guys. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Mary. And we have a Periscope stream here. And then we also have an Instagram stream that's trying to start. I don't know if it's going to start right now or not. It's stuck on checking connection. So Instagram will either get to join us or not. Hey, special hey out to Katie, Tom, Lydia. Hey, you guys, thanks for joining me tonight. Hey, Instagram, how are you guys doing? Thanks for joining me this evening. This is the part 2 of the Shadow Beings series, and this will be types of shadow entities this evening. So awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. So hey, Emily. Hey, Rolando. How are you guys doing this evening? Nice to see you on a Monday night. Hey, George and Lydia, Finney. Hey there. Shout out. Tell me where you guys are from. Where are you joining me from this time of the evening? Hey, Anna. And Melissa Begley, give a big squeeze and a hug to Miss Cleo from me. So latest stuff that's going on. I've got some more requests today for some more classes, some more courses. But these are requests for like an in-person type of instruction. I know a lot of you on the surveys had said that you would want like an online offering. So what I was thinking is, since I do have some people that are interested in like a personal one-on-one class for introduction to psychic abilities and how to manage them and what to do with them. So what I was thinking is, and you guys chime in and let me know what you think. What I was thinking is we could do like some Skype episodes, some Skype along with the personal one-on-one training. Hey, Sherry. Oh, thank you, Mary. And Charlotte, thanks. Hey, Charlotte, and shout out to Paris, Kentucky. And hi to Tammy and Yasmin and Todd. Nice to see you guys on here tonight. So, shadow entities. I'm going to kind of recap on last night's a little bit, or last Monday, I should say. I'm going to recap on last Monday. So where I left you guys last Monday was with this thought. For those of you that tuned in last Monday, hey, Tim, hey, Sherry, shadow beings have often been seen as animal, creature, or man. But there aren't any accounts that I have found where a shadow person presented itself as female. So that was very, very interesting. Shout out, you guys, and comment if you have ever seen any shadow person present as a female silhouette. So special shout out to Wendy, Sandra, Sherry, Jill, Lyric, hey, thanks for joining, and Parker, John Phillip, hey to you. So have you guys ever seen a silhouette of a female entity? Let me know in the comments section. And as always, if you have any question, please put it in the comments section. If I don't see it or I don't get to it in this live stream, I promise I always answer all of my questions after the live stream is over. So back to a recap. Man, creature, or animal. And the animal presentation is usually of a black dog. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Donna and Amanda. One of the things we didn't get to last week And I wanted to recap for this week. We didn't get to go over the pagan influence or the historical pagan derivation of the superstitions with shadow people, because the pagan interpretation of shadow people was highly different than a lot of the other references in medieval times. So, hey, Karen, Joyce, and Doris. So, referencing the pagan beliefs and their superstitions, the pagans assigned a really positive connotation to the shadow entity. And one of the things that Plutarch had said, and this was a famous Greek essayist in the time of Plato, had written, at the end of the world, the blessed ones would be happy forever in a state of neither needing food nor casting a shadow. So I found that was very, very interesting, because the pagans believed that to be in the shadow state was an existence of eternal bliss. So that's quite different from what we associate with shadow beings. So Joyce has a comment. So she has not ever seen a female shadow person. And yes, there aren't any documentations that I know of a shadow person who is female. So Amanda has a comment. I've seen a changing shape shadow figure, started as one shape and then moved across a doorway and changed shape. Hey, Louise, and that, Amanda, that's one of the things that they referenced in this, was that the shadow beings, especially the intradimensional references, were shapeshifters, highly shapeshifters. Now, in Celtic and Germanic elements, the shadow beings were guardians of the underworld. So, and this was interesting. And this was in some English texts, and they were referencing power, that the shadow being kind of was a representation of power, and that power accepts no shadow. Other sayings include to fear one's own shadow. Thanks for the hearts. Kisses back. To fear one's own shadow, and fearing one's shadow dates back to antiquity, when the shadows were regarded as guardians, thus influencing an individual. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Judy. Nice to see you guys. So, and I had some questions from last week. Several people asked if the shadow people could be guardians. And yes, they can. This is why we're going over the different types of shadow people. So shadow guardians were the first type that showed up. So in antiquity, mythology regards the forces of light and the forces of darkness. It's sort of a historical debate. However, there's a faction which has not been discussed so much, and that is the history of shadows. So shadows as guardians, let's start with that, because that was the biggest question from last week. Hey, Greta Hanshu. Hey, Jill Jones. So let's see. While shadows can be seen as projections of individuals, in other words, most shadow beings will present as a bipedal silhouette, okay, and can readily shapeshift. So, and you know, there's another saying that I was thinking about today as I was doing a lot of the research for this, is there was a saying of, you know, you're a shadow of your former self. Have you guys ever heard that comment being made? You're just a shadow of your former self. So that kind of links back to the shadow as well. The older books have different interpretation of shadows and claim that demons, and this is written about in more than one manuscript, claim that demons actually fear humans and their powerful shadow guardians. So that was in more than one reference that I looked up. As for shadows, they're believed by some to be capable of existing alone for eternity, whereas humans are highly social animals or social individuals. But shadows are believed to exist alone forever. Which, and you've heard the phrase lonely shadow. So Doris says anytime she's seen a dark shadow, she's had a bad feeling, and she's seen quite a few of the shadows. So, and that's one of the major things that you need to go by when dealing with shadow people is, what does the entity feel like? What is the feeling that's coming off of that entity, or the feeling that you're obtaining from that entity? Because the feeling is actually the vibration or the resonance of the true shadow entity. Okay. So, for example, as a guardian, shadows have power over influence over human souls. And it is said that when the Grim Reaper comes for a human soul, it presents itself as a shadow. Very interesting. So the shadows are seen as extremely powerful in this realm. Now, so we want to talk more about shadows as guardians. And you're really going to have to go off of the feeling of the entity and what the basic resonance or frequency of that entity is projecting towards you. Guardians are most often light and will show up in different forms of light, your spirit guardians. So some of the light connotations that show up, like if they show up as blue, that's power, protection, truth, faith, courage, and strength. If they show up as purple, that's mercy and transformation. It is possible that the shadow person as a guardian can show up as a combination of this blue and purple and may kind of look like a shadow person, but not really be a shadow person. Or it may just be a shadow. I did find some references for shadow guardians that said that sometimes the guardian would show up as a shadow, but what they're saying is like an outline of a shadow, the outline of a figure, and not have too much detail. So have you guys ever seen a shadow person? And if so, put in the comments what this particular shadow entity looked like to you. One of the biggest things that was documented was that the shadow person presented itself as a male silhouette, and a lot of times it had a hat, either a cowboy hat or a fedora hat. What I was thinking and what I brought up in the last episode, the part 1 of this series, one of my theories was that the shadow entities are quite telepathic, and they can tap into the primal fear relationship as you relate to it in your mind or as you've been socialized. Now, in a lot of movies and a lot of stories and stuff, a fearful figure is the man in the cape with the hat that has no face. And so what I feel like is the shadow people actually can tap into that telepathically and project the resonant vibration that produces that particular shadow. Because remember, a shadow is strictly what's produced by the absence of light from an object that's in between the light and what the shadow produces. So let's debate it. What do you guys think about this? How do you feel about it? One of the things that I found was that shadow people tend to be conscious, intelligent, and particularly the intradimensional beings can move in and out of our dimension, and those are the ones that are most adept at shape-shifting from animal to this humanoid bipedal shape. And that it's the intradimensional beings that can produce the most amount of different figures or different forms. So I found that reference was very interesting as well. Now, the interdimensional beings that can shapeshift into various forms and move back and forth between dimensions, they're also saying that these could be possibly demonic creatures or other evil entities, and they are very predatory, and their goal is to either remove the person's spirit or actually feed off of the person's spirit. So, hey, Edie. So Sandra has a comment. She says her granddaughter says she sees an octopus-looking shadow almost every day in one of their bedrooms. Oh, we got to talk about this, Sandra. Okay, you message me with more details, Sandra, and let's go over what to do for this, because that's not a great situation. Hey, Dave. Hey, Judy. I want to see if there are any more comments there. Hey, Brian. Thanks for joining. Sari, Rocky, Jessica. Hey, Angel Campbell. Kiss Angel Campbell. Tammy has a comment. Tammy Campbell. So she sees a silhouette of a soldier walking across her deck, and she feels that it is a guardian. So did you pick up, Tammy, that were you feeling that it was a guardian? Did you hear it, or did you see that it was a guardian? Hey, Carrie. Hey, Jean and Lori. And Cheryl has a comment. She said her mom has in her current house seen a black shadow, but she didn't feel afraid. That's awesome. Now, Cheryl, I would ask you to further investigate this and ask her if that shadow was male or female. Hey, Kimberly Felker, Ryan, Eden, Betty Jo. Hey to Wendy. Thanks for joining, Judy. And so Anna has a comment. I think I have seen one once before at a place I used to work. It was late at night and I saw it across the hallway, but when I went to the end of the hall, everyone was sound asleep. That's pretty much standard. Usually, if you try to pursue a shadow person, it's going to evaporate or change or leave. And I think, Anna, the reason why is there's like an energetic network that's set up for the visualization of that entity. It's a frequency, it's a resonance that's set up to block that light, to produce that type of image. Now, when you enter into that area, let's say you're trying to go to the area that it is, and you know, a lot of ghost hunting shows, they'll see something on the camera and then they'll run to that area. Well, what's happening is there's a specific resonance or oscillation that's set up in that area to produce what they're seeing. Now, when you go charging into that area, what are you doing? You're interrupting the resonance, you're interrupting that oscillation, and that causes everything to collapse that has been set up to put that projection out there. So Angel has a comment. I don't get vibes at the moment at this house, although there have been a couple of times where black masses have been seen over certain areas, but not lately. And a lot of you guys are going to find that certain times of the month, shadow people are going to be more evident than other times. And those are usually the heightened energies of the moon changes, like a new moon or a full moon, particularly a full moon. I think it's more evident on full moons than it is a new moon, but I have seen a lot of activity on the new moons as well. And we just passed one. So if any of you have seen a shadow person in the last 3 days, shout out and let me know, because that we just got done with a new moon, and you know, that's a high time to see entities, ghost spirits, and shadow people. So hey to Tammy, Simon Campbell. So she saw it was a guardian and he shows up from time to time. That's awesome because they have been documented as guardians, and that is a perfect affirmation of that entity kind of watching out for you. So hey to Sherry. She says she sees black shadows at her house, and it's usually when she's alone and everyone is sleeping, and it causes her to get creeped out and she has goosebumps. Okay, Sherry, what I want you to do is private message me, give me a little bit more details about this and history, and we'll go over what you can do about that. So Kimberly Felker says her son saw a white figure with black where the eyes were in the kitchen, and when he looked back, it was gone. So Kimberly, if it was a white figure, we need to go by feeling though. How did he feel? What was the feeling that he got off of this entity too? Because a lot of demonic presences can present as a white figure with the dark eyes. So Tammy says she feels like he is a protector. Yes, and a lot of documentation says that a lot of the shadow entities are shadow guardians. So Doris also says that different times of the year seem to affect also. And these times of the year are going to be when the portals are open, and people call it the veil is thin, and that's going to be right around the end of April, beginning of May, and that also happens at the end of October, the beginning of November. So it's pretty awesome. Let's check our time at 7:22. I want to cover a couple more things before we hop off of here. So the classic shadow beings are the male figure, the male silhouette with either the hat or not the hat, bipedal. A lot of times the silhouette doesn't really delineate the arms. The arms are at the side. They can have a cape or a hat. We did go over that. Why they have that, I think that goes back to that primal fear elicitation, that they seek to drive some type of oppression or fear reaction so that they can feed off of it. One more interesting thing I want to add before we finish is most of the time these entities present as two-dimensional and not three-dimensional. And so what I want to leave you with this week is, and we have caught several on camera, these dark shadows that move across the room. And what I'll do is tomorrow I will post a couple of pictures that I saved from some of the investigations that we did. So what I'm thinking is some of the pictures, these shadow things are not see-through. They're quite opaque. So I'm thinking that these entities are either utilizing dark matter or dark energy. And we're going to go into the difference between dark matter and dark energy next Monday for part 3. So next Monday for part 3, we're going to go over, there are 4 other different types of shadow beings. And we're going to go over dark matter and dark energy and what that is about. And the last episode of this series is going to be defense against shadow people. So let me make sure that I've got all my comments answered. So Mary has a comment. She thinks she has seen the Grim Reaper. Anybody who's worked in the hospital, if you've seen a shadow moving down the hall and then had a death occur after that, it's probably what you've seen. So Doris says she sees a lot of shadow entities in cold weather. And I will throw that in for next week. There's a reason why that is, Doris. So Ryan says, not so many shadow entities after reading, surviving, and thriving as an empath. Thank you. That was great. Thanks again for an awesome walkthrough at the Paddy Wagon. No problem, Ryan. Anytime. Hey to Samantha and Deborah and Jeannie. And hey to Ryan Pratt. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to sign off now, but before I do, we're going to check with David and see what's for dinner, David.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner?
Okay. I'll tell you. I've been craving some lentils lately, so I've looked up recipes on lentils, and I'm going to do lentils with lardons, and I deglaze the pan with cognac.
Wish you were here. Kisses from Kentucky, guys. I'll see you next Monday. Good night, and have a great one.